Calcium is the most abundant mineral in your body, but unfortunately, most people don't get enough of it, which creates all sorts of health problems. In this video, I'm going to share with you 10 roles of calcium in the body, so you can see how important it is to get enough of it. And in this video, we'll look at some functions of calcium that you may have never heard of before, so make sure to watch until the end. Now, if you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos. Let's jump right in with number 10, which is bone health. This one is probably no surprise, because bones are literally the tissue that we associate with calcium. It's very easy to get your daily requirement of calcium if you consume dairy products or take a supplement. But unfortunately, worldwide, 50% of women and 20% of men over 50 years old don't meet their daily requirements, which leads to weaker bones and an increased risk of osteoporosis and fractures. Number 9, nerve impulse transmission. Calcium plays an important role in transmitting nerve impulses. In fact, without sufficient amounts of calcium, our nerves cannot fire. So how does calcium help nerves transmit signals? Well, let me explain. Neurons, which are the cells that carry nerve impulses, have a cell membrane just like all other cells. The inside of the neuron has a negative charge relative to the outside. When a neuron receives a stimulus, special proteins called voltage-gated calcium channels open up and allow calcium ions to flow into the neuron. The influx of positive calcium ions makes the inside of the cell more positive. If this change in polarity reaches a certain threshold, then the neuron fires, sending a signal down the length of the neuron. So, as you can see, calcium is critical for nerve impulse transmission. But we need sufficient amounts of calcium in the diet to make this happen. A deficiency in calcium causes a range of neurological issues, including muscle spasms, twitching, tremors, and even seizures. Number 8, muscle contraction. Similar to nerve function, calcium is also essential for muscle contractions. In fact, every single time your heart beats and your blood is pumped around your body, it's thanks to the interaction between calcium and cardiac muscle. But what is this interaction, and why is it so important? Muscle contraction happens through a series of steps that involve several different proteins, but we're not going to go through each step here. Suffice to say that calcium is involved at the very end when calcium binds to a protein called troponin, which then allows the muscle to relax. Without sufficient calcium, this binding doesn't happen, and the muscles stay contracted. Since the heart is a muscle, this means that if you don't get enough calcium, your heart won't be able to beat properly, which could be fatal. The good news is that your body tightly regulates calcium homeostasis, meaning it tries very hard to keep your calcium levels in check. So even if your diet is lacking in calcium, your body will do everything it can to prevent hypocalcemia, which is a condition where there isn't enough calcium in the blood. One way your body achieves this is by releasing a hormone called parathyroid hormone, PTH for short, which increases calcium reabsorption in the kidneys. Basically, this hormone prevents calcium from being lost in the urine, and therefore keeps calcium levels high in the blood. Number 7, blood clotting. When you get a cut, your body initiates a complex series of steps to prevent excessive bleeding. At the heart of this process is calcium, which is needed for the final common pathway of coagulation. In fact, calcium is so important for this process that if a patient doesn't have enough calcium, they can continue to bleed profusely even after getting a transfusion of platelets, which are cell fragments that normally plug the initial hole in the blood vessel while the clotting process is taking place. Now, normally our bodies maintain adequate levels of calcium, but it can sometimes be a problem for patients who have kidney disease because their kidneys might not regulate calcium properly. In these cases, patients might need to restrict their dietary intake of calcium, or even take calcium supplements depending on their condition. Number 6, enzyme activation. Many enzymes, which are the catalysts of biochemical reactions, require calcium for optimal activity. For example, in the blood clotting process we just discussed, an enzyme called factor VIIA activates other factors to initiate the coagulation cascade. Factor 7A needs calcium to work. Another important enzyme that requires calcium is adenylate cyclase, which is found in many different tissues throughout the body. This enzyme catalyzes the conversion of adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, to cyclic adenosine monophosphate, or CAMP. Cyclic AMP is a molecule that acts like a second messenger, relaying signals from hormones like adrenaline and glucagon. It essentially turns on different processes in the cell to carry out the instructions of the hormone. So as you can see, calcium indirectly influences a wide range of cellular processes by activating various enzymes. Number 5. Insulin secretion. Insulin is a hormone that helps cells absorb glucose from the bloodstream, thereby lowering blood sugar levels. This hormone is made by specialized cells in the pancreas called beta cells, but it's only released when there's enough calcium in the cell. Here's how it works. Beta cells have special pores called ATP-sensitive potassium channels. When the beta cell is stimulated by a rise in blood glucose, these potassium channels close. This closes another channel that's coupled to it called the calcium channel, which triggers an influx of calcium ions into the beta cell. The rise in intracellular calcium concentration triggers insulin secretion. Therefore, having sufficient amounts of calcium in your diet ensures that insulin is released when it's needed, helping to maintain healthy blood sugar levels. Number 4. Cell signaling. Calcium is also an important second messenger in cell signaling, similar to its role in activating enzymes and secreting insulin. You see, hormones like estrogen and vasopressin bind to receptors on the surface of their target cells. These receptors are coupled to a G protein, which then activates an enzyme called phospholipase C. This enzyme generates two important second messengers, diacylglycerol and inositol, IP3 for short. IP3 binds two receptors on the endoplasmic reticulum, a type of cell organelle which releases stored calcium into the cytoplasm. This increase in calcium levels then activates certain genes, triggering the synthesis of new proteins. So as you can see, calcium is a vital component of many signaling pathways, allowing cells to respond appropriately to their environment. Number 3. Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process used by plants and some microorganisms to convert light energy into chemical energy. This process is essential for life on Earth because it produces oxygen and organic compounds that can be used as food. Calcium plays a crucial role in this process by activating an enzyme called rubesco. Rubesco is an enzyme that catalyzes the fixation of carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. This reaction converts inorganic carbon dioxide into a more usable form, allowing the process to continue. Without sufficient amounts of calcium, rubesco wouldn't be activated and photosynthesis wouldn't work properly. This would lead to less food production and less oxygen being released into the atmosphere. Number 2. Maintaining pH balance. Calcium is important for maintaining the acid-base balance in the body. When the body becomes too acidic, calcium can bind to hydrogen ions, helping to neutralize the excess acid. Conversely, when the body becomes too alkaline, calcium can release hydrogen ions, helping to restore the proper pH balance. This is important because even small changes in pH can significantly affect enzyme activity and overall cellular function. And finally, number 1, preventing premature birth. Premature birth is a leading cause of infant mortality and morbidity worldwide. Fortunately, it appears that adequate calcium intake during pregnancy can reduce the risk of preterm labor, which is labor that occurs before 37 weeks of gestation. One theory behind this protective effect is that calcium helps maintain the tone of the uterine muscle, preventing it from contracting prematurely. Additionally, calcium is necessary for the proper functioning of the placenta, which provides oxygen and nutrients to the developing fetus. By ensuring that the placenta remains healthy, calcium indirectly supports the health of the baby and reduces the likelihood of premature birth. Alright, now that you know some of the amazing benefits of calcium, it's time for a quick quiz. Pause the video and write down your answers to the following questions. 1. What is the recommended daily intake of calcium for adults? 2. Name one condition that can occur as a result of low calcium levels. 3. How does calcium help regulate blood pH? And 4. Which hormone is released in response to low calcium levels? Give yourself a nice pat on the back. If you answered all 4 questions correctly, calcium is truly an essential nutrient that plays a vital role in many important bodily functions. From building strong bones to facilitating nerve impulse transmission, calcium is truly an amazing mineral. If you're concerned that you might not be getting enough calcium in your diet, talk to your healthcare provider about whether you should take a supplement. Just remember that it's always best to get your nutrients from whole food sources whenever possible. And if you want to learn more about nutrition and biochemistry, make sure to check out these videos here. Thanks for watching, and make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons so you don't miss any new videos.